Howdy, Star Wars Minute. This is Calvin Fahrenheit, and I'm calling because I heard you slandering my great, bunch of greats, Uncle Daniel, and his temperature scale. I want to start by saying that I'm fully on board with Pete's project of switching over to metric because that system, makes more sense in just about every possible way. The one area I'll push back on is temperature. I fully believe that Celsius has no place in a modern society. Here's the thing. When you give someone a number on my Uncle Dan's scale, it answers the question, assuming a reasonably temperate climate, on a scale from 0 to 100, how hot is it today? Whereas if you use the scale that Mr. Celsius proposed, it instead answers the question, assuming we are at exactly 1 atmosphere of pressure, how far are we between the freezing point and the boiling point of hydrogen dioxide? And you might think, yeah, well, that's useful for science or whatever, right? Well, if you're doing science with temperature, you probably want to be using kelvins instead. That's all. Love the podcast. Hashtag metric but Fahrenheit.
Hello, welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It is the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
That must make me Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And I'm Joe Dator, cartoonist, author, and bassist for the Star Wars character Durnal Gerfernschlimmerner. Yeah.
Are you okay?
Gerfernschlimmernersten. That's, I don't know if you've seen the character Durnal Gerfernschlimmernersten, but that's based on me.
Oh,
wow, really?
That's
awesome.
That's interesting character. He's not a bounty hunter. He's not a moisture farmer. He's a moisture hunter. He doesn't sit around the farm waiting for moisture to come to him. He's proactive. He's flying all around the galaxy, hunting down all the moisture he can find. The great, dynamic, exciting character. Look for Durnal Gerf. No, it's not. The movie's just called Gerfernschlimmernersten, the movie. A Star Wars story.
A Star Wars story.
And well, that should be solo too.
We look forward to seeing you on the convention circuit.
It's
signing those glossy 8x10s. Trying to remember how to spell that character.
That's all I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
I like it.
It's all about the Hamiltons.
Did Durnal, I forgot, does Durnal have a catchphrase? Does he...
Yeah.
Does he have like one line?
Durnal says, "I've found you now, moisture."
Oh, there you go.
That's what he says. He talks to the moisture for some reason.
Well, that's how he's able to track it. He
speaks moisture.
Yeah. It's his big catchphrase is, "Now if I was moisture, where would I go?" That's his
think
catchphrase.
like those around you think. That's
yes.
What,
Yes. Be the moisture that you want to see in the world.
Well, there is some moisture, I believe, in minute 82 of Solo, a Star Wars story. 82 starts with Kira emerging from the fog of war. There's probably some moisture in that fog. And it ends with Lando violently ripping L3's torso from the rest of her body. So something goes wrong here in the middle.
Took a dark turn.
Surprisingly, the movie doesn't end that way. It just that could have been, the end of the movie.
Right, and then Lando just staring at the camera, looking crazy.
Yeah. The horror.
There is moisture. There's these pools around of what I assume are some sort of hot spring or some sort of acid bath or something like that. They look very, very dangerous. If you fall into that, you die, I assume. It's like
maybe it's good for you, but it's just in such a dangerous spot.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe they're super healthy mineral baths, but no one's gonna mineral bathe on Kessel on a mine. You know what I noticed early on in this is a really interesting droid. I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about.
It could be. But my first note. Which one are you talking about?
Both of you say at the same time. We'll see if you've.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. We don't have a.
Yeah, the big weird turtle droid.
Yeah. I think I wrote pantomime gonk, but
Pantomime gonk, that's it. Yeah, it's like two guys in a gonk outfit
right.
who I hope are very good friends.
They are now if they weren't.
They
then.
are now
Right, yeah.
if they're not. Yeah, the front and the back, and that's the only way I could imagine they did this this droid, unless it's one guy on his knees. But that's I don't know.
I feel like we've seen four-legged gonks before, haven't we?
Possibly.
I feel like in The Mandalorian, or I feel like somewhere we've seen four-legged gonks. Maybe it's Scarif.
I think this is the same
4 legs.
four-legged droid. This is the same sort of like multi-pedal droid that sort of appears in the background in the trench scene earlier in the movie, I think, because there's as they're going by in the trench in the the World War I type trench, and they're doing the walk and talk in the trench. You see this thing in the background that I think is the exact same prop. I think it's the same thing, maybe repainted a little bit, but it's like a big weird turtle droid.
I've looked
So
up.
you're saying there's two turtle droids
In the universe, yeah.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Oh.
I did look at that. I looked up although that's, let me see, is this under, this is not what this is. All right, never mind. I looked up, I'm like, oh, four-legged gonk. Give me and I see one of the, we did see one in the Book of Boba Fett. But not in this movie. Clone Wars makes extended use of these. They're called plunk. They're a plunk droid. Four-legged gonk is a plunk.
I remember the four-legged gonk. It was in the hangar in Jabba's palace.
Right.
In Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I say in the Book of Boba Fett? I meant in the show of the Book of Boba Fett, the movie.
Right. Not the adaptation.
Do you think it's like the Sears Tower, where people are always going to refer to it as Jabba's palace, even though it should be Boba's palace by that time, or the Bomar Monk palace, depending on how what kind of claim you want to make on it.
Well, yeah, it's like it's no matter what.
To me,
I like the idea that people are still
always be Bib's palace, always.
Bib's palace.
Bib's palace. Let's pitch
sounds
that.
Like the children's store, a store where you go buy children's supply. Come down to the Bib Palace.
That could be a show. Welcome to Bib's Palace, boys and girls. Yeah.
It would be like I would like to see. What was that show? Cribs. They should totally do a Star Wars version of Cribs, where we get to see all the cool places that all these characters live. I want to see Bib's crib.
Bib's crib.
Drink some Mr. Pibb at Bib's crib.
I like that idea. I want to go see, visit all of the, they should do that now while they're filming a couple of these shows, especially while they're filming Obi-Wan Kenobi. They should go have, Ewan McGregor being like, oh, hello there. Welcome to my hut. Let me show you around. Did you know there's a second story?
Oh, no way. Is there? That would be...
It's a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Walked right into it. Well, let's talk about minute 82 for a few minutes. What do you guys say?
Sure.
We have four-legged gonk.
All right. Yeah.
The turtle droid. It's not a four-legged gonk, but it is a...
it's not a plunk.
It's not a plunk.
I love it. It's exactly what I love. It's everything I love in Star Wars. It's a weird little thing that you see for half a frame in the background, and a lot of effort went into making it. And it fills out the world. It suggests a whole history and a whole backstory to this place and all this stuff. And it's like some of the weird things you see around Tatooine and in Star Wars. That weird sort of flying saucer thing right outside the cantina.
Right. Yeah.
It's and it's got a look of it that is not particularly sophisticated. It doesn't look cool. And I famously like things to not look cool.
Right.
And I like things to look clunky and dopey and kind of dumb, because that's what they would look like if they were real. They would be functional, and they would be designed decades earlier, and so they would have some outdated kind of aesthetics to them. And there's a lot of that in this movie, and it makes me very, very happy. And a lot of it in this scene, again, why I love this scene. We can talk about some of the dumbass droids that show up in this scene. They're really silly looking. They're very simple, and they look like if you asked a class of 8-year-olds to draw their draw their own robots. They would come up with what look in this scene almost like the ugly doll equivalent of droids. They're very simple and goofy looking. And and some of them are just robots. Like it's just like a triangle with wheels or some silly thing like that.
That would be
and
cool.
You could just
not wheels. We don't get wheels in Star Wars.
There's not there's treads. There's at least one that has treads. Sure. There's a couple with treads.
Tread. Wheel? No. Tread.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, treads depend on wheels. You can't have a tread without wheels. So,
They're part of a symbiont circle.
It's a technicality. You can have wheels, but the wheels can't touch the ground.
Yeah, that's true. Right. That makes sense. Yeah. You can have wheels. You can have a sphere, a ball, but
sure.
But you have things that they have. My favorite thing in Star Wars is they look clunky.
Yeah.
And functional. And there's a kind of almost like a mid-century sort of aesthetic to them. Like they came from the 60s.
Yeah, everything should look like it was homemade at Radio Shack, not bought at bought at an
found
Apple
objects
store.
that they welded together somehow.
Yeah.
Well, that was there was a somewhat intentional directive to make this movie look kind of more mid-century, like because it's if this is taking place roughly 10 years before Star Wars,
right?
Then
exactly,
and
Makes
that's
sense.
77. This should look like 67ish.
And
it
they
should look
nailed
like late 60s, early 70s.
Absolutely nailed it. Yeah,
there's an attempt to make some of the things look more kind of retro-y without going.
Yeah, but it's also this is a very remote mining colony, so their stuff that they got is cheap, secondhand, way outdated, and even for Star Wars, their stuff is like dirty and broken and busted and outdated, and they really nailed it. It looks totally great to me.
Should have had when it's like like the droids are escaping and they're like they call to the control room, and the control room should have had one of those classic like Bell phones with the like a rotary dial and like an avocado or like a mustard color.
Oh yeah, I love that, and like the old sort of like switchboards where you plug a thing in, and and like sort of
droid rebellion. Okay, hold on, please.
Yeah, like the droid equivalent of Lily Tomlin.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I want that.
That's exactly what I want to see. But mostly, I want to see like old buttons and dials and things like that. And there's plenty of that.
He's not in this scene.
Sorry.
It'll never happen, but it does sound like we're all kind of hoping we would love to see a peak Terry Gilliam direct a Star Wars, with all those vacuum tube, like Brazil era Star Wars, with vacuum tubes and typewriters and magnifying glasses and all that kind of
and it's adjacent to like a Wes Anderson Star Wars. You know what I mean? That would he does a lot with that kind of thing. I'd go see that. Of course, I'd go see anything. I'd go see, not anything, but I'd go see if it's a Star Wars.
You'll go see anything.
I'll go see it. I'll go see Say Anything, the musical based on the movie, based on the adaptation of the movie, based on the movie.
Oh yeah. I read the novelization. I read the novelization of that, based on the novel by Sapphire.
Push by Sapphire.
Right.
So in this scene, we see this is the first time we see the old classic smuggling compartments being used. They will, of course, be used for famous results in Star Wars. But here we get to see. So that seems odd to me. I guess maybe Lando opened it before he left, thinking, okay, this is where they'll want to put the coaxium.
Well, yeah, it seems like that's where they're going with them,
right? So he probably left them open ahead of time because again, it's Chewie probably wouldn't have known they were there unless Lando pointed it out to him.
Well, and that's I was mistaken. I was wrong. I thought that Han said he put those in there, but he didn't. I had to go back, and Luke just says, "Boy, it's lucky you had these compartments." Han says, "I use them for smuggling. I never thought I'd be smuggling myself in them." He didn't say I put them in. I always thought that was kind of involved in the like special modifications that he made himself. That was me extrapolating. It's lucky he has them, but they were in there when he got them. A lot of it's Han Solo's mystique is just being like, wow, like look at all this cool stuff that you have that you did. And it's like he didn't do all of it. He did probably very little of it, but he's in charge of it. So
yeah. It's nice to see those. It's good to see those, and a nice little an organic callback to Star Wars, not a gratuitous one.
Yeah,
Right.
it does make sense that they would be.
Although, does it make sense that they would be putting them in there if they're for smuggling? They're not smuggling. They already kind of blasted their way out of here. They're not really trying to hide them past this
Well,
point.
I guess if they got pulled over.
Which, I mean, we'll see
They
momentarily.
could. You never know what could happen. Yeah.
Right. I
think
mean,
so.
you know,
Yeah.
Han
I know.
does get boarded occasionally.
It
Even
seems like
even Han occasionally.
if I were this crew, I would have just driven the hand truck right up the ramp and then put them into the compartments later.
Or use the freight elevator.
Well, yeah, they don't know. They didn't. I love the idea that there's a freight elevator with they'd have to go and ring the bell and like the Millennium Falcon super would have to come down and open it for them.
Or the idea that that Lando had actually lowered it and they never used it, so when they take off, the freight elevator is still sticking out of the bottom of the Falcon.
And then it gets shaved off somehow. That's why we never see the freight elevator again.
Mm.
So one thing I noticed, Chewie finishes loading up the thing, and then Kira comes on, and she gets rid of her/Lando's cape by dropping it on the ground right in the doorway where everyone is going to be coming in.
From what I understand, that's a custom piece, and it seemed kind of egregious for her to just drop it on the floor.
It's custom for her, or because we were debating whether that was her cape or Lando's cape.
Oh, it's Lando's cape.
Oh, it is Lando's cape.
She just borrowed it without asking from his closet.
That does seem very well. Again,
So when she dresses up like a dignitary, she just improvises the cape, and
But it does seem she is the Maul of a big famous gangster, so I'm sure she's
not the Darth Maul.
She's used to having someone. She's probably used to having someone walk around behind her and pick up the stuff that she drops around on the floor.
Well, yeah, there's that.
There's underlings.
So, yeah,
like I did notice. I noticed her taking out the cape and leaving it on the floor and thinking, "Boy, that's
I was thinking more not necessarily from the damaging the cape, but just the fact that Han and Lando are going to be running in here at any second now, and they're going to be speaking of Buster Keaton, they're going to be tripping all over a cape and that's landing right.
It's not a great place to leave it, but I think she's in a hurry. But it's good that it's there. No spoiler, but we'll see later. Stuff happens with that cape.
All right.
That cape saves the day. It becomes the star of the movie. That should be Solo 2.
It's the cape.
Solo 2
takes the cape.
Takes the cape. Thank you very
How's
much. Yes. Planet of the Capes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Because
it's all about capes. It's entirely
that cape wants to return home. It's like a Star Wars Holiday Special. The cape has to get home to its family.
Right.
Cape fear.
There you go. Cape fear.
We know Chewbacca is a pilot at this point?
Do we know Chewbacca?
Does anyone really know Chewbacca?
No, we don't know anything about Chewbacca.
But at no point Han never said, "Oh, he's a pilot." That was never brought up before.
He doesn't know it yet.
Because I feel like it would have been funny if at this point, if Chewie, Sagwa, and Kira just raised up the platform and just took off and left Han and Lando and L3 there. Because I mean, they literally just met these guys like 15, like a day and a half ago. So it's,
No, he thinks.
Then again, Chewbacca's a very moral character.
He doesn't think Chewie can fly the thing. He thinks, Chewie's like
I don't know.
Can a dog chasing a car. He wouldn't know what to do with it if he caught it. Yeah. But then he would.
But like when Han goes to start steering, then Chewbacca doesn't like.
We'll get
okay. But I'm saying Chewie does not. At no point does he seem like he's like, "Hey everyone, I can drive a ship." You know what I mean? But
because I don't think he can yet, right?
Chewie's full of surprises.
Anyway, we'll get.
You'll find he's full of surprises.
Yeah.
I have a note here that says droid hammer, which is a metal band.
And that's
a robot metal band.
That's a German metal band. What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, they're all robots playing heavy metal music. That's we part of L3 fighting off the Throng. It looks like she's using like a mining hammer.
Yeah.
To clear the crowd rather.
I had to go to the closed captions to figure out what she said, what she's yelling there.
What is she yelling there?
No more subjugation. That's what she's yelling. And she means it. No more subjugation.
No, I think she meant no more subjugation. I think that was what she was saying.
Well, that would have been more likely because that's probably what people heard because from what I understand, there's so much more subjugation that happens
not for her,
after this.
Sadly.
Now, maybe not. Yeah. Well, I think for her, maybe.
Oh well, yeah, maybe it's eternal subjugation.
Maybe it's nothing but subjugation for her.
Yeah.
I can't speculate at this point in the film, but it would be bitterly ironic if she was enslaved for life.
You heard her, Han. She said no more subjugation.
Right. There's nothing she would love more.
What you want. So yeah, we see L3 get blasted in this one, and what to me, I guess because it's a droid, they feel like it's more like, okay, we can show this really getting like. I feel like they show her getting shot in a way they would never show a human character getting shot, like in the air and like like Sam Peckinpah style. I feel like they're really kind of like. Which is weird because to us, she's pretty much a person. So it's just as upsetting seeing her get blasted as it is seeing an organic character get shot. It's a weird,
slightly removed. Same with K2SO. Like he
but I felt the same way when K2SO got shot. I was like, oh my God, this is like a violent, like death. And so it's weird that it's kind of like, well, they're robots. We can show them getting shot to pieces and no one will care. You know what I mean?
They totally should have had them like leaking oil out of their mouths. And...
Yeah.
If you imagine that L3 is a human being, this is a horror movie.
Right.
So he goes to pick her up off the ground and she just separates from the rest of her body.
Yeah, totally.
And then later on, he tears her brain out of her skull and uses it for
it's what you would have wanted
purposes. And like, oh yeah, this is no problem. This is no problem at all. If you just imagine that they, if you digitally put like an actor in that, it's a horror movie.
That'd be interesting to do the opposite of what they're just
just
redo it and just put
Phoebe Waller-Bridge as herself,
or like and just movie. Any human in there.
It's still unclear to me what Star Wars wants us to think about droids because they're presented as no different from human characters. They have a heart, they have a soul, they have desires, they have goals, they have feelings, they have emotions, and yet they're just machines. You blow them up, you throw them in the trash, you grind them into whatever. Who the hell cares? So it's very, very confusing and gets confusing and can get upsetting at times, like in this scene.
Right. Well, yeah, I'll have some more questions. Oh, look at that. Maybe not even until... I had some questions for Thursday about this. Well, I guess it'll keep coming up because it's this slow agonizing
They will be here before you know it.
So with the looming death of L3, does to me what kind of seems to distinguish these Star Wars stories is the fact that so many characters, I guess, because they were both kind of prequels, so we knew they kind of certain characters had to not be around anymore, or not necessarily, but anyway, like Rogue One, obviously a lot of people die. This one, a lot of the characters, a lot of more main characters get killed in Star Wars stories than in main regular Star Wars. That's my hypothesis. I'm sticking.
Every new character died, pretty much, right?
In
this movie,
Kira survives.
Kira,
Empty Nest survives.
Yeah.
Okay. The guy who gave Han Solo his name, we can assume that he survives.
We don't know what happened to Moloch and Madame
Lady
Proxima. So but of the main characters, I was trying to think, what is the deadliest Star Wars movie? Which one has the most main characters die in it? Well, Rogue One, I feel like there's no way that that one, like every other one of the main
top
characters
Rogue One,
killed.
Right.
Yeah. But
it depends on what you mean by dying too, because then there's also like the original Star Wars had Grand Moff Tarkin, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Biggs, Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru.
Any character with a name and with dialogue, I guess counts in that instance.
Right. Greedo
and droids count.
Poor Greedo.
Or they count really fast. Tell.
So the scenes of him carrying around L3's body seem like I find them uncomfortable to look at. You know, I don't know if it's because, like, again, if this was a human character, it would just be so like if they showed I'm trying to think of a famous movie death where they showed the person carrying around that top half of their torso as they like crying and stuff like that, both emotionally and it's just unsettling to watch. Like I find it like I'm almost like I can't look at it because I'm almost like embarrassed for Lando. Like,
well, do you remember in Bambi,
raw display of emotion about his
when Bambi's mother dies, the scene where Bambi is cradling her severed head and weeping over it? You remember that?
I do. I thought that live action one was
a lot of children maybe were a little bit affected by that. I don't know.
Yeah. But also, how much of a droid do you need for it to live? Is
that I have questions about? That's later in the week.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a lot of questions. We can think about that for a while.
Yeah.
That was my Thursday. There's a line that triggers that.
Yeah. Okay.
I do want to give a shout out and pay homage to the great tracking shot when Lando goes running after L3 and the camera follows him and things are falling all over the place and he slides on the ground like into home plate. And man, that's beautiful. And this whole thing it's a really exciting sequence in the movie. And when I first saw the movie, that was one of the moments where I'm in the theater and going, oh yeah, this is good. This is good.
You were talking about the popcorn.
Yeah, the popcorn was very, very good. No, I'm not into popcorn, but those were the best Raisinets I ever had. Oh. Not a popcorn guy. This is weird. I never eat popcorn in the movie theater.
I rarely do.
I never eat it anywhere, but especially don't eat it in a movie theater. I don't eat it more than I don't eat it in a movie theater.
You're least likely to eat it in a movie theater.
Right. I eat it even less. I just spontaneously throw up popcorn. It's the opposite of eating.
You generate all the popcorn that you eat during the year just comes out.
My body generates it just so I can.
You swallow unpopped corn and then you go to the movie theater and vomit out
so I can express my distaste in a visual metaphor for popcorn.
Wow.
Wow. Well, speaking of that scene, not the scene where you vomit popcorn, the scene where Beckett, where Lando runs off and slides to pick up the remains of L3, the still semi-conscious body of, compare and contrast with, we already brought up Alien 4, but in Alien and Aliens, and to a lesser extent Alien 3, the androids there, who are more human looking, they get some serious, mangling going on.
You do have, Ian Holm in Alien, who's just a head on a table there. It's, but you don't feel bad for him.
And Bishop, gets ripped in half, and then
maybe the fact that they do look more human makes it weirdly less. You know what I mean? Well, because you have like a robot with a blank face, and like you're the one who supply the emotions and things to the. You know what I mean? Like if you look at like a smiley face, like a simply drawn smiley face, it doesn't look like a human face, but you're the one who your brain makes it look like a human and invests emotions into emojis and stuff like that. So, so it's almost like you're more invested in it when a cartoony looking character dies than when a realistic character dies, because then it's like you're less. I don't know. Does it make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
you're more invested in it. You're doing some of the work.
Yeah, so it would be. Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, I did want to talk about that when Lando runs off and Beckett is like, "No, Lando, get back here." It rings a little bit like Willy Wonka. Like he
wait, don't come back.
Yeah, like he's a little bit like
he's kind of hoping he gets killed so they can take the ship.
In a sense, like they get more of a cut. They could take the ship. Like this would all work out really well for Beckett if Lando gets destroyed here.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised Beckett didn't, whoops. No one would have known. No one would have known. Anyway.
And my last note for this minute was R.I.P. droid hips, because we had a lot of talk when L3 showed up. Everybody was like, it's nice to see a robot with big droid hips. And
yeah, so it's going to be a shame. I don't know when it's going to be before we see another really sexy robot. But I know for me personally, it's not going to be very long, because I just have a thing about robots.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have another surprising fact about this movie. I have another surprising fact about Solo, the movie, the film, A Star Wars Story. All of the dialogue for Chewbacca was written first in English, and oddly by author V.S. Nepal.
Wow.
Yeah. The last thing he wrote before he passed away, after having won the Nobel Prize for Literature, was Chewie's dialogue for this movie. Surprising fact. And I'll have more of those coming up this week.
Did seem unusually poetic for this film, I did think.
Yeah, I know. You can tell. You can tell even when it's translated into Wookiee.
Yeah. That's like finding out John Wayne was the voice of Gurinden.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
He was.
No, he was in the costume, but he wasn't the voice.
Yeah, by that time he'd been ravaged by fallout.
Well, that was all I had for 82. And hey, if you want to continue the conversation, you want to talk to us about, did you feel, let's throw it out as a question. Which is more emotionally, which droid deaths affected you more? The ones from the Alien franchise, or the ones from the Star Wars? Like K2SO and L337 on the one hand, Ash and Bishop on the other hand. Call in 8-Day Greedo, or find us more pertinently, probably a quicker way to do this. Find us on social media. We're on Twitter at Star Wars Minute, Instagram, The Star Wars Minute. Go to StarWarsMinute.com/Facebook to jump into the Star Wars Minute Listener Society and tell us about it. Or go to Reddit, /r/Star Wars Minute. And that will get to the subreddit covering the show. Talk to us about all this stuff. Let us know how you feel, and we will see you tomorrow with a brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.
A Star Wars Story, the Minute. The movie.